Welcome to EV Story Vault. Imagine a world where answers appear before you even think to ask the question. A world where machines can write, solve, and create faster than any human mind. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the question no one asks. Are these tools making us sharper or quietly stealing our ability to think, imagine, and decide for ourselves? Today we dive into the hidden truth behind AI and why the very convenience it promises might be the trap that makes us dumber. And the question sounds easy. Is artificial intelligence making us dumber? It feels like a casual question, but it is not. Questions like this often hide something deeper. This fear did not start with AI. It is very old. Humans have always worried that when we give our thinking to tools, we lose part of ourselves. And long ago, people feared writing. They believed memory would disappear because words could live on paper instead of in the mind. Why remember anything if it is written down? People would look smart without truly understanding. Today, the same fear has returned. Only the tools have changed. Paper became computers. Pens became code, and every big invention that helped the mind caused fear. The abacus scared people who did math by hand. The printing press scared scholars. Calculators scared teachers. Search engines scared anyone who valued knowledge. Now AI scares almost everyone, and this fear is not silly. AI can write essays, explain topics, create ideas, translate languages, and solve problems in seconds. Things that once took hours or years to learn now take moments. Effort disappears. And effort matters, because effort is how the brain grows. And when things become too easy, something changes, slowly, quietly. We stop memorizing phone numbers, then we stop remembering directions. Then we stop recalling facts, then we stop building ideas on our own. Each step seems harmless. Why struggle when the answer is right there? But intelligence is not just knowing facts. It is not fast answers. Real intelligence is understanding patterns, making judgments, and knowing when something feels wrong even before you can explain it. And when we stop using these skills, they weaken. The brain saves energy. If a machine does the thinking, the brain steps back. And look at navigation. Before GPS, people built maps in their minds. They noticed streets and landmarks. Now many people cannot navigate without a phone. Studies show that heavy GPS use can reduce brain activity related to memory. The brain adapts to what it is asked to do or not do. And AI may do this on a much larger scale, writing, planning, thinking, creating. Not because it is bad at these tasks, but because it is good enough that we stop practicing. But this is not the full story. Tools can weaken skills, but they can also make humans stronger. A telescope does not harm the eye, it lets us see farther. Calculators did not kill math, they allowed deeper math. And so the real question is not whether AI replaces thinking. The real question is what kind of thinking it replaces. And if AI writes for us, we save time. But writing was never just about words. It was about turning messy thoughts into clear ideas. If AI removes that struggle, thinking can suffer, unless the human stays involved. And AI does not force us to stop thinking, it invites us to stop. And invitations are harder to refuse, and there is another problem. Thinking is tied to responsibility. When you form your own ideas, you own them. When answers come from a machine trained on countless sources, responsibility fades. Truth feels less solid, confidence in personal judgment weakens. And why trust yourself when the machine sounds smarter? Why argue when the answer appears instantly? And over time, people may stop trusting their own thinking, not because it is wrong, but because they no longer practice it. And still, humans do not all react the same way. Some become dependent. Others become sharper. This happened with books. It happened with the internet. AI will do the same but faster, and some people will use AI to avoid thinking. Others will use it to challenge their ideas, test arguments, and improve understanding. The difference will not be technology, it will be attitude. And AI can give many answers, but it cannot choose what truly matters. It can summarize everything, but it cannot decide what deserves attention. It can create content, but it cannot feel meaning or value. And these things come from experience, failure, boredom, and effort. from the very struggles AI removes. And AI takes away pain, but it also removes signals. When everything is easy, everything feels equal. The mind floats without direction, confusing smooth answers with real understanding. And so if intelligence declines in the age of AI, it will not be because machines became too smart. It will be because humans forgot why thinking was worth the effort. Thinking is slow. It is uncomfortable. It forces us to face uncertainty. It gives no instant reward. And AI makes it possible to choose not to think. That choice has never been easier. The tools are powerful. The answers are everywhere. What matters is whether people still enter the quiet space where thinking happens, where questions form slowly, where understanding takes time, where the mind works without help long enough to remember what thinking actually feels like. And when humans stop thinking deeply, the effects reach beyond memory or problem solving. It touches our creativity, our decision-making, even our emotions. Thinking is not just an intellectual act. It is a way of understanding the world, of placing ourselves in it. It is how we connect ideas, see consequences, and imagine possibilities. AI can imitate many of these processes, but it cannot truly inhabit a human perspective. It does not live, it does not feel, it does not grow through failure. Its outputs are clever, but they lack the messy, unpredictable quality of a mind at work. And consider reading. When we read slowly, we reflect, we pause, we question. We may stop and think, do I agree with this? Or does this connect to what I already know? With AI, summaries and instant explanations replace the need for slow reading. The words arrive already organized, polished, even convincing. The temptation is to accept them without testing them against our own understanding. Over time, the habit of questioning fades. The mind becomes used to accepting conclusions that it did not generate itself. It becomes less confident in forming original thoughts. And the same applies to problem solving. Solving a problem requires exploration, testing hypotheses, failing, and trying again. When AI does this for us, we may arrive at solutions faster. But we do not experience the struggle, the trial, the error. We do not internalize lessons. And those internalized lessons are what make us adaptable, creative, resilient. Intelligence is not the final answer. It is the ability to navigate uncertainty, to handle new challenges, to reason under pressure. When AI handles the uncertainty, the human capacity for navigating it may weaken. And education is particularly affected. Schools have always been places where knowledge and skill are cultivated. The work is hard because growth requires effort. AI has begun to change that dynamic. Students can now generate essays, complete assignments, and answer complex questions with minimal effort. The danger is not simply cheating. It is the gradual erosion of the habits that thinking requires. Without effort, learning becomes superficial. Knowledge becomes a collection of words rather than a web of understanding. Critical thinking, which develops through struggle, becomes underdeveloped. A student may know many facts, but may not know how to use them, combine them, or challenge them. But there is also another layer. AI shapes the questions we ask. It suggests directions, offers solutions, predicts outcomes. Our curiosity may narrow because the system anticipates our needs. The questions we would have explored independently may never even form. Curiosity is not a passive thing. It is active, deliberate, sometimes inconvenient. It pushes us into unknown territory. AI, by smoothing friction, may inadvertently guide us toward paths that feel comfortable, predictable, or efficient. The cost is that unexplored territory, the very ground where imagination grows, remains untouched. And we also must consider social thinking. Much of human intelligence develops in interaction with others. Debate, discussion, disagreement, argument, these are exercises of the mind. AI can simulate dialogue, but it does not challenge in the same way a human can. It is too often designed to confirm patterns, to offer coherent responses, to appear reasonable. Humans, especially when debating or learning together, force each other to refine ideas, to defend positions, to reconsider assumptions. AI, if used as a replacement for such interaction, risks creating a mental environment too tidy, too neat, too comfortable for real thinking. And yet AI also has potential. It can expand the reach of intelligence if used deliberately. It can act as a mirror reflecting ideas back, so we see flaws or gaps. It can provide unexpected connections, sparking creativity in ways we might not achieve alone. But this requires active engagement. The human must remain in the driver's seat, questioning, analyzing, choosing. Without that, intelligence drifts. It becomes outsourced, dependent, vulnerable to decay. And part of the issue is attention. Thinking requires sustained focus. AI, with its speed and ease, encourages multitasking, skimming, and surface-level engagement. When answers arrive immediately, the incentive to linger, to wrestle with complexity diminishes. Cognitive laziness is subtle. It is not that we stop thinking entirely, but that we shift to thinking only when necessary or only in the ways that AI cannot yet replicate. These shifts accumulate over time. Skills weaken, attention spans shrink, patience erodes. The brain adjusts to the environment. If the environment demands less effort, the brain expends less effort. And memory is another casualty. Memory is not just storage. It is an active process of understanding, of forming connections, of interpreting experience. Relying on AI to remember facts or arguments reduces this mental exercise. Forgetting is part of learning. When we forget and reconstruct, we strengthen neural connections and deepen understanding. When we outsource that process to a machine, we lose both the practice and the mental flexibility that comes with reconstruction. Knowledge may be accessible, but comprehension may be superficial. And there is also the danger of complacency. Human judgment relies on skepticism. We learn to doubt, to verify, to compare, to question. AI can make doubt feel unnecessary. After all, it seems consistent, logical, and authoritative. This creates a subtle erosion of independent verification. Beliefs may form based on convenience, plausibility, or AI confidence, rather than evidence, reasoning, or moral reflection. This is not simply an intellectual issue, it is ethical. Thinking is a moral act because it is a commitment to truth, responsibility, and understanding. When we delegate thinking entirely, we risk delegating morality as well. And despite these risks, AI is not inherently harmful. The potential for intellectual decline exists only if humans abandon active engagement. The danger lies not in AI's abilities, but in our habits. Those who choose to think critically, who challenge AI outputs, who use the tool as a partner rather than a replacement, may find themselves more capable than ever. They can explore more ideas, learn faster, and access knowledge previously impossible to hold in the mind alone. AI becomes a force multiplier for intelligence, not a replacement. And to harness this potential, humans must deliberately maintain the practices that develop thinking. Reading slowly, questioning assumptions, exploring multiple perspectives, engaging in dialogue with others. These habits cannot be outsourced without cost. Mistakes, struggle, and failure remain essential. The friction of effort is not a nuisance. It is the medium in which intelligence grows. AI can remove barriers, but it cannot replace the inner work. To surrender the work is to surrender growth. And another important aspect is imagination. Imagination thrives on uncertainty, on open-endedness, on incompleteness. AI often resolves uncertainty too quickly. It tends toward patterns, completion, and coherence. Human imagination requires the space to wonder, to doubt, to fail, to speculate without resolution. When AI provides answers too readily, the space for speculation shrinks. We may become efficient but less inventive. Creativity is cultivated in the gaps, not in the final solution. And the relationship between AI and thinking is in a sense like a relationship with any powerful tool. A hammer can build a house or crush a hand. The difference lies in how it is used. The danger is complacency, the temptation to take shortcuts, the comfort of having solutions ready-made. The opportunity is guidance, acceleration, expansion of perspective, and augmentation of human ability. The deciding factor is human intention, discipline, and curiosity. And even language itself changes in an AI-driven environment. Writing is a form of thinking, and if writing is done mostly by AI, the human mind loses a training ground. Grammar, style, argumentation, narrative, structure, these are exercises of thought. Using AI to do these things automatically is like lifting weights for someone else. The body may look strong, but the muscles themselves do not develop. Over time, the human mind risks becoming dependent on external aids for what were once internal capacities. And we should also consider the broader cultural impact. Societies rely on the intelligence of their citizens. Decision-making, governance, scientific progress, moral reasoning all depend on a population capable of thinking independently. If AI enables superficial understanding at scale, societies may suffer in subtle but profound ways. Knowledge may expand, but wisdom may not. Access to answers is not the same as the ability to reason, judge, or innovate. Intelligence is not a set of outputs. It is a way of engaging with the world and navigating complexity. And finally, humans must recognize that intelligence is a skill, not a fixed trait. Skills grow with use and shrink with neglect. AI will not fundamentally destroy intelligence, but it can encourage neglect if humans rely on it passively. Just as a garden left untended becomes overgrown with weeds, the human mind can lose its depth if it is not exercised. Tools change the work, but they do not eliminate the need for it. AI magnifies both our laziness and our effort. The outcome depends entirely on how we choose to act. And we must also consider how AI affects decision-making in everyday life. Decisions, even small ones, are exercises of judgment. Choosing what to read, what to believe, what to buy, or how to respond requires weighing options, predicting consequences, and reflecting on values. AI can suggest, predict, and optimize. It can show probabilities and likely outcomes. But decision-making is not just about efficiency or accuracy. It is about understanding trade-offs, owning consequences, and exercising responsibility. When AI offers answers instantly, the human effort in weighing and judging can fade. The brain grows used to following suggestions instead of evaluating possibilities. Over time, even subtle reliance can erode the habit of careful thinking. And consider creativity again, but in a broader sense. Creativity is not simply producing something new. It is the process of connecting ideas, questioning assumptions, and exploring uncertainty. AI can generate art, music, or writing, but it does so by remixing patterns from the past. It does not imagine struggle or feel the tension between the real and the possible. Humans, when fully engaged, experience that tension. That struggle, the uncertainty, the doubt, the repeated failure, is what makes human creativity rich and original. By skipping over that struggle, AI can create impressive outputs, but humans may slowly lose the skill to create from raw imagination, to wrestle with complexity, to innovate without pre-existing templates. And the impact is even more profound in problem-solving under pressure. Real-life problems are messy. They are incomplete, unpredictable, and often contradictory. AI handles structured problems well. It predicts, calculates, and organizes. But life rarely presents neatly organized problems. Humans learn resilience, patience, and adaptability by dealing with ambiguity. When AI provides immediate answers, the opportunity to practice reasoning under uncertainty diminishes. The mind may become less capable of improvising, less able to tolerate ambiguity, and less willing to engage with problems that cannot be solved in a few clicks. And there is also an emotional dimension. Thinking is not only cognitive. It is tied to self-awareness, reflection, and empathy. Humans often reason in dialogue with themselves, considering not only logic but emotion, context, and moral impact. AI can simulate dialogue but cannot feel or reflect emotionally. If humans rely on AI to produce thoughts or arguments, they may begin to lose confidence in their own emotional judgment. Decisions may become technical rather than personal. Understanding others may become mediated through machine outputs instead of lived experience. Empathy, which grows through reflection, and engagement may atrophy if humans outsource too much thinking to AI. And this brings us to moral reasoning. Humans do not simply solve problems, they judge, weigh, and deliberate based on values. Ethics is a form of intelligence. It requires imagining consequences, considering fairness, and making choices without certainty of outcome. AI can offer analysis, probabilities, and simulations. But it cannot decide what is right, and it cannot internalize moral responsibility. Relying on AI for judgment even subtly risks dulling our moral muscles. When humans follow machine guidance without reflection, they surrender not only intellectual effort, but also moral responsibility. Habits of thought and conscience are intertwined. Neglect one and the other may weaken. And another area of concern is social learning. Human intelligence grows through interaction, discussion, debate, collaboration, disagreement. AI can simulate conversation and feedback, but it cannot replace human dialogue fully. Machines often provide coherent, polite, or seemingly insightful responses, but they do not challenge assumptions with genuine unpredictability. They do not confront ego or emotional resistance. Social learning involves tension, error correction, and compromise. AI may smooth tension, but it cannot cultivate the resilience and subtlety developed through human-to-human exchange. And the effect on attention is also critical. Sustained focus is the foundation of deep thinking. AI encourages speed, instant results, and multitasking. When answers arrive immediately, the incentive to linger, to consider alternatives, or to dwell on complexity diminishes. Attention spans may shorten, patience may erode, and mental habits may become superficial. Knowledge may be broad but shallow. Understanding may feel easier to achieve, but depth may weaken. The mind adjusts to its environment. If the environment demands less effort is given. And memory, too, suffers in subtle ways. Memory is active, constructive, and relational. Remembering requires effort, reflection, and repeated retrieval. Forgetting and reconstructing reinforce understanding. AI can store facts and retrieve them perfectly, but when humans outsource memory entirely, this process weakens. Knowledge becomes externalized, accessible, but unpracticed. The brain adapts to rely on external storage, and the internal capacity for recall and synthesis may decline. People may know where to find answers, but may struggle to generate them independently. And the influence of AI on language cannot be overlooked. Writing is thinking. When humans write, they clarify thought, organize ideas, and explore connections. When AI writes for us, the practice diminishes. Sentence structure, argumentation, and style are exercises of the mind. Relying on AI for these tasks is like lifting weights for someone else. The results may look strong, but the mind itself does not grow. Over time, writing may feel more like arranging pre-made pieces than engaging in real intellectual labor. Fluency may remain, but critical thinking and creativity in language can weaken. And AI also affects the questions we ask. Humans grow intellectually by generating questions, exploring uncertainty, and testing assumptions. AI can provide answers, but it can also shape the questions humans consider. Convenience may bias inquiry toward predictable, comfortable, or efficient paths. Uncomfortable, challenging, or open-ended questions, the ones that stretch understanding, may go unasked. Curiosity is not passive, it is active exploration. AI, by smoothing friction, risks narrowing the range of curiosity, leaving minds less accustomed to grappling with unknowns. And there is another subtle danger in reliance on AI. Overconfidence in apparent intelligence. Machines produce outputs that are coherent, fluent, and convincing. Humans may mistake fluency for understanding. A well-written paragraph or a polished argument can appear insightful even if the user does not fully comprehend it. Over time, the habit of accepting output at face value can weaken critical judgment. The mind begins to trust appearances over reasoning. Intelligence is measured not in consumption, but in creation, verification, and evaluation. And despite these risks, AI has immense potential to enhance human thinking if used correctly. It can expand horizons, reveal patterns, and accelerate research. It can provide unexpected connections that spark creativity. It can offer simulations that help humans explore possibilities safely. But these benefits depend entirely on active engagement. Humans must remain participants, interrogators, and evaluators. If AI replaces engagement, intelligence declines. If AI amplifies engagement, intelligence grows. And the challenge is one of discipline, habit, and intentionality. Humans must deliberately maintain practices that foster thinking. Slow reading, deep reflection, sustained, focused discussion, with others testing ideas through writing and debate. These habits are not optional. The friction of effort is essential. Machines can remove barriers, but they cannot perform the inner work. Delegating this work risks atrophy. Skills like muscles need exercise. Neglect leads to weakness even if the body or mind appears capable. And another crucial aspect is imagination. Imagination thrives in ambiguity and incompleteness, in unresolved tension. AI tends toward patterns, completion, and coherence. It resolves uncertainty too efficiently. Human imagination requires unanswered questions, gaps, and room for speculation. When AI supplies answers too quickly, the space for imagination shrinks. Efficiency may increase, but creative exploration may diminish. Imagination is cultivated in struggle, uncertainty, and curiosity. Without these, creativity risks becoming imitation rather than invention. And the cultural and societal implications are profound. Societies rely on citizens capable of independent thought. Governance, innovation, ethical decision-making, and collective problem-solving all require engaged minds. If AI enables superficial understanding at scale, the risk is that society may gain knowledge but lose wisdom. Decisions may become technical, convenient, or optimized, but not reflective, moral, or thoughtful. Intelligence is not a tally of correct answers. It is the capacity to navigate complexity, uncertainty, and moral responsibility. And even human identity is shaped by thinking. When people rely too heavily on external sources for ideas, knowledge, and judgment, they may lose confidence in their own capacity. Self-trust, judgment, curiosity, and initiative, all core elements of identity, require practice and engagement. AI can augment identity when used actively, but it can dilute identity when used passively. Humans may become observers rather than participants in their own cognitive lives. And the paradox is clear. AI can either weaken or strengthen human intelligence. It depends entirely on human choice, habit, and engagement. Those who allow machines to do the work passively risk erosion of memory, judgment, imagination, creativity, and responsibility. Those who actively engage, question, test, and refine ideas with AI can reach new levels of understanding, creativity, and insight. The tool magnifies both laziness and effort, stupidity, and wisdom, depending on how humans use it. And in the end, AI is neither a friend nor an enemy. It is a mirror and a partner. It reflects habits back to us, reveals patterns, accelerates outcomes and challenges, or confirms our ideas. But it does not replace the inner work of thinking. Thinking is slow, uncertain, uncomfortable, and sometimes frustrating. AI removes friction, but also removes practice. The question is whether humans will continue to enter the mental spaces where thinking happens. Spaces of doubt, struggle, reflection, and curiosity. These are spaces that AI cannot inhabit for us, no matter how advanced. And even as AI offers answers, instantly humans must remember that thinking is not a race. It is a journey. Speed is seductive. It promises efficiency, accomplishment, and mastery. But thinking deeply takes time. It unfolds slowly, often painfully, in layers. True understanding is rarely immediate. It grows from repeated questioning, revisiting ideas, reconsidering assumptions, and observing consequences over time. AI can compress timelines, produce results, and even suggest solutions, but it cannot replicate the experience of walking slowly through complexity, feeling each step, and learning with the body and mind fully engaged. That experience is what shapes judgment, creativity, and wisdom. And imagination, when left unpracticed, begins to shrink subtly. Humans imagine because they wonder. They imagine because they question. They imagine because they confront the unknown. AI, by providing neat solutions or patterns drawn from past data, reduces uncertainty. It can simulate novelty, but it cannot confront the unpredictable or the deeply personal. Imagination is cultivated in the friction of uncertainty, in moments when the mind hesitates, when failure is a real possibility, when no guide exists. These are the moments where human brilliance emerges, and these are the moments AI cannot inhabit for us. By skipping them, humans risk losing the very spark that fuels innovation. And consider learning itself. Learning is not just receiving information. It is transforming information into understanding. It is a process of struggle, failure, repetition, and reflection. When AI supplies answers before the struggle begins, the mind misses the essential work of transformation. Knowledge becomes something external, a string of facts and outputs, instead of an internal web of ideas, experiences, and reasoning. People may know many things, but they may not understand them in a way that allows them to adapt, to create, or to respond to the unpredictable. Intelligence is cultivated in the tension between knowing and not knowing, between certainty and doubt. AI risks smoothing away that tension, and even decision-making, one of the core exercises of intelligence, faces subtle erosion. Humans grow judgment by weighing options, anticipating consequences, and taking responsibility for outcomes. AI can present probabilities, generate scenarios, and simulate results. But the responsibility, the hesitation, the careful moral reflection cannot be outsourced. Decision-making is as much about values as it is about efficiency. The ease of AI-generated answers can seduce humans into deferring judgment. Over time, the muscle of judgment weakens even as the mind appears productive. The problem is not that AI makes mistakes, it rarely does, but that humans may stop practicing the hard, messy work of deciding for themselves. And there is also the matter of curiosity. Curiosity is an active force. It pushes humans into unknown territory, asks uncomfortable questions, and encourages exploration without immediate reward. AI, by smoothing friction and anticipating needs, can inadvertently narrow curiosity. When answers arrive quickly and predictably, the mind may cease to explore paths that feel inefficient or unnecessary. Curiosity thrives in tension, in uncertainty, in the unformed question. AI can offer possibilities, but it cannot create the subtle dissatisfaction that drives humans to probe further, to challenge assumptions, and to seek knowledge that is not immediately available. Without that dissatisfaction, the mind may settle for convenience rather than discovery. And memory, too, is transformed by reliance on AI. Memory is not simply a storage system. It is an active, reconstructive process. Remembering requires effort, reflection, and the weaving of ideas into a coherent mental framework. Forgetting and reconstructing strengthen understanding, flexibility, and insight. AI can remember everything, flawlessly retrieve facts instantly, and organize knowledge efficiently. But in doing so, it removes the practice that strengthens human memory. Information becomes externalized, reliable, but uninternalized. The mind becomes dependent on tools and neural pathways that once supported reasoning and recall weaken. Humans may have access to knowledge, but they may not have mastery of it in the mind itself. And language, as well, is intimately tied to thinking. Writing, speaking, and argumentation are exercises of the mind. Crafting a sentence, structuring an argument, shaping ideas with words, these are not merely forms of communication. They are processes of thought itself. When AI generates language for humans, the opportunity to exercise these cognitive skills diminishes. Writing becomes assembling rather than reasoning, arranging rather than creating. Fluency may remain, but depth, clarity of judgment, and originality may fade. Words are not just vehicles for ideas. They are the tools through which ideas are forged, tested, and refined. And even social intelligence, the ability to engage with others, thoughtfully faces subtle risk. Human conversation, debate, and collaboration are crucibles of thought. Through discussion, ideas are challenged, assumptions exposed, and perspectives broadened. AI can simulate conversation, but it cannot replicate the unpredictability, the tension, or the emotional stakes of real human interaction. Machines often confirm patterns, provide coherence, and anticipate responses. Humans, in contrast, learn through resistance, contradiction, and the unpredictable friction of dialogue. The more humans rely on AI for interaction or guidance, the less accustomed they become to navigating these human dynamics independently. And there is also the danger of overconfidence in machine intelligence. AI produces answers that appear polished, authoritative, and convincing. Humans, especially when fatigued or distracted, may mistake fluency for understanding. A clear explanation or a logical summary can be taken as proof of mastery, even if the underlying reasoning is not fully grasped. Over time, this can erode critical thinking. The mind begins to accept appearances rather than interrogate reasoning. Intelligence is not about consumption. It is about engagement, evaluation, and creation. AI can give the appearance of knowledge without cultivating the skill to reason independently. And even moral reasoning, a core aspect of human intelligence, faces subtle erosion. Humans develop ethical judgment through reflection, debate, and experience. They weigh outcomes, consider fairness, and navigate complexity. AI can offer analyses, probabilities, and predictions, but it cannot internalize responsibility or understand moral nuance. Relying on AI for guidance even subtly risks dulling moral muscles. Decisions may become technical, convenient, or optimized for efficiency, rather than just ethical or reflective. Ethics, like intelligence, requires practice, effort, and ownership. And despite these challenges, AI has immense potential to amplify human thinking. It can expand the reach of knowledge, reveal hidden patterns, accelerate experimentation, and suggest new perspectives. It can inspire creativity by connecting ideas in ways humans might not anticipate. It can simulate scenarios and allow humans to explore possibilities safely. But these benefits emerge only when humans engage actively. AI is powerful, but it is not a replacement for the work of the mind. It is a tool that amplifies effort, not a substitute for it. Without conscious engagement, its potential becomes a risk rather than an asset. And the responsibility lies with humans. We must deliberately cultivate habits that maintain and strengthen thinking. Sustained attention, careful reflection, slow reading, deep conversation, writing to clarify thought, and experimentation to test ideas. These practices are not optional, they are essential. Friction, struggle, and failure are not obstacles. They are the medium in which intelligence grows. Machines can remove barriers, but they cannot perform the inner work. Delegating thinking erodes not only skill, but confidence, curiosity, and moral responsibility. The mind must remain engaged or it atrophies, and imagination too must be exercised deliberately. True imagination thrives in tension, in uncertainty, and in incomplete information. AI resolves uncertainty, quickly providing polished outputs and completing patterns efficiently. Human imagination, by contrast, grows in the space of the unknown, the unresolved, and the unpredictable. It thrives on hesitation, failure, and creative struggle. AI can spark ideas, but cannot live the tension that births originality. If humans rely on AI for instant solutions, imagination risks becoming derivative, functional, and predictable. And even identity is shaped through thinking. The act of reasoning, questioning, imagining, and deciding cultivates a sense of agency and self. Humans grow confident, capable, and autonomous through the exercise of thought. Outsourcing too much of this process risks weakening self-trust, initiative, and curiosity. AI may provide answers, but it cannot inhabit the experience of human judgment, discovery, or creation. Identity is forged in engagement, not in consumption. And the paradox of AI is simple yet profound. It can either weaken or amplify human intelligence, depending entirely on how humans choose to use it. Passive reliance risks atrophy of memory, judgment, imagination, creativity, and moral reflection. Active engagement can elevate thinking, expand insight, and accelerate learning. The tool magnifies both our laziness and our diligence. It does not determine the outcome, humans do. The question is whether we will treat AI as a partner that challenges, reflects, and amplifies our thought, or as a crutch that smooths friction, eases effort, and diminishes skill. And AI, like fire, electricity, or any powerful invention, is neither inherently beneficial nor harmful. It is a force multiplier. It amplifies the habits, intentions, and practices of the human mind. It reflects back to us our strengths and weaknesses, our curiosity and complacency, our diligence and laziness. It is a mirror and a partner, a challenge and a tool. It can illuminate complexity, suggest possibilities, and accelerate exploration, but it cannot replace the inner work of thinking itself. Thinking is slow, uncertain, challenging, and sometimes uncomfortable. AI removes obstacles, but it does not replace the effort required to cultivate wisdom, imagination, judgment, and insight. And the essential task, then, is deliberate engagement. Humans must step into the spaces where thinking happens, spaces of doubt, uncertainty, and struggle. They must practice curiosity, wrestle with ambiguity, reflect critically, and take responsibility for judgment and creation. These are the spaces AI cannot occupy for us. They are the spaces in which human brilliance, originality, and wisdom emerge. AI can amplify what we do there, but it cannot inhabit them in our place. Every moment of engagement is an investment in cognitive strength, moral responsibility, and imaginative power, and every moment of passivity is a subtle surrender of these gifts.